Before going back to the slides, I wanted you to introduce with ETL using an option wherein we do not need to do any coding, and that is called Visual ETL in Glue. Visual ETL gives us a capability to write transformation scripts without doing any coding. So it is a no code capability that is provided by Glue. You might have seen in the previous video that when we open this ETL jobs, there are three options. The first one is Visual ETL, then we have Notebook, and then we have Script Editor. In the previous video, I had shown you how to do job configuration using Script Editor, but you can do the same using Visual ETL also. Now I'll show you how you can use this no code experience to create a transformation script in Glue. So click on Visual ETL, and here what you have to do, there are options to drag and drop and select sources, transformations and targets, and the script would be automatically created by Glue. But before that, of course, I'll have to set up the job details. The name of the job is 3IAM Glue Visual ETL S3 to S3, and I'll use the same IAM role that I've been using so far. The Glue version is 5, which provides Spark 3.5. The language is Python 3, and the worker type is G1X, which means I'm using a single DPU. The maximum number of workers would be 10. I do not want more than this. Then you have job insights, and then you have job bookmark. The purpose of job bookmark in Glue is that it can remember what data was processed earlier. And whenever we run the job again, it can ignore the previously processed data because Glue maintains a state of the files, of the S3 files or the data that has already been processed. By default, it is disabled, but you can enable it from here. You can pause it also. And after that, if I run Glue job, it will remember what data has been processed so far. And if you submit the job again, then in that case, Glue will ignore the data that was processed earlier. There's an option of job queuing, which is not needed as of now. The number of retries is 0. The job timeout is 480 minutes. That is the default. And then we have this advanced properties. What would happen here, because I'll be using a Visual ETL, Glue would automatically create a Python file. Glue will automatically create a script from the boxes and edges that we use. And the name of the script would be 3IAM Glue Visual ETL S3 to S3.py. And it would be stored in this particular location, which is created automatically by Glue. This is the S3 location, and for this also the IAM role is needed. Then I'm enabling the job metrics for CloudWatch, the observability metrics, and Spark UI. The Spark UI would also be written here in the Spark history logs. The number of concurrency, I'll increase it to 5, maybe, because if I want, I can run multiple jobs at the same time. And this is the temporary path. It is a working directory for the Spark. And I'll be using Glue Data Catalog as the meta store. And there are no connections needed. Then we have libraries. Again, I'll not provide any libraries as of now. Let us go ahead and save this job. Once this job is saved, then you can go to Visual and create our no code script. Now first, let me tell you what am I going to do. There are 3 files available in the Glue input files, which is actually 5 files: account, customer, ledger, loan, and transaction. I will join multiple files together and write it in the Glue output folder. So the output location would be completely different. I'm not using any connection as of now. I'll do that later on. But right now, I want to read from various different S3 files, which can be CSV, Parquet, JSON, do some joining, and then write it to another S3 output location. That's what I'm going to do now, but I'll not be writing any code. I'll use the visual no code experience. So this is the dashboard, or this is the canvas as it is called. And here we have this plus button, which can be used to add nodes. So once I hover on top of it, it says you have to add nodes. If you click on it, it gives you multiple options. There are sources, transformations, and targets. And these are the popular sources, transformations, targets, etc. First, let me create multiple sources. So my sources would be in S3, right? So I'll have to create 5 different data frames if I talk in terms of PySpark. But as I'm not writing any PySpark code, I'll have to mention all the different files using Amazon S3 because all files are in S3 itself. So I'll be adding 5 nodes. So if you click on it multiple times, it would add multiple nodes. I can reduce the size also. So I have added 5 nodes here. All of them are S3. Now here we'll have to set up the location and all the other configurations that are needed. So let me show you what I mean by that. First, I will add the account file. So this is the S3 URI. I'll have to copy the S3 URI. This is the account table actually, or account data, which is stored in CSV format. So I'll click on this, which is a data source S3, and I'll name it as S3 underscore account here. So here we'll provide all the different data source properties. It can be S3, it can be Aurora, it can be Redshift, anything as such. So we'll have to provide data source properties. I'll show you this similar transformation using Aurora database also. But the source type would be a S3 location. You can mention a data catalog table also, because I had used Glue crawler to crawl the data and store it in the data catalog. If I select 3IAM Glue DB, I can choose the table which is 3IAM underscore account. That is also possible. Or I can mention an S3 location directly. And here I'll have to provide the S3 URI, which is account. So for the first one, I'll mention S3 location. For the second S3 source type, I'll mention the data catalog table. Then we'll have to provide the data format, which is in CSV, which means what is the file type in S3. Of course, it is CSV. We can provide the delimiter here. In our case, the delimiter is comma. There are no escape characters, and the quote characters are double quotes. You can also mention whether the first line of source file contains column headers or not. So if you remove this, then the header would also be considered as a record. Of course, you do not want to do that. Then there are multiple options available. So it talks about schema inference. There are two options. Let AWS Glue Studio automatically choose a sample file, or choose a sample file for S3. This is nothing but the infer schema true, which is available for CSV. But in the meantime, there is this data preview which has been given by Glue. So here it can show you the records, or what type of records are available. So the account ID, customer ID, balance, currency code, account opening date. These are the records which are available here. So it's giving you a data preview also. So this is the first data source, and you can save it. Then we have the second data source. In this case, I'll again use Amazon S3, and I'll use the S3 URI again for the second source also, and I'll name it as S3 underscore customer. And the name appears here. This is the S3 underscore customer name. Let me reduce the size. This is S3 underscore account, and I'll provide the S3 location just like earlier. The format would be CSV, and everything else would remain the same. And it will show you the data preview here also, right? So you can see customer ID, first name, etc. Let me save it. Now in the third option, I will not use the S3 URI, the ledger table, loan table, and transaction table. I'll use the catalog, the Glue data catalog, because the information about all these are already available in Glue data catalog. It would be S3 underscore ledger, but the source type would not be an S3 location. It would be a data catalog table. I know the page is a little untidy. That's how it is, because there are too many things that have been compacted in a single console. That's why it looks like this, but it's a very easy way to write your simple transformation code. If there are very complex transformations, then it might be a little difficult to use the Visual ATL. And in those scenarios, you'll have to use PySpark only. Okay, so for this case, I'll be using the data catalog table. The name of the database is 3IAM GlueDB, and the table is ledger. And that's it. Nothing else is needed, because I'm selecting it from Glue data catalog, and Glue data catalog has the information that it is an S3 file, and the location is the folder where ledger data file is there. So it will create a data preview. Currently it is 62% complete. It might take some time for the data to be previewed. So now you can see the data here. Of course, you can maximize it and see the data here. There's ledger ID, account ID, ledger type, etc. And then I can minimize it also. Similarly, I'll add the other data sources, which is loan and transaction. I'll use data catalog from GlueDB, and the table would be loan. Now in this case, I do not have to provide too many options. The final one is transaction. So all the sources have been provided here, and make sure to save the jobs frequently, or save the job frequently. Okay, so now I'll have to run multiple join condition. So here I'll have to add a node. In that node, I'll be joining all the 5 tables. So this is the source, and here 5 data frames would be created. In case of Glue, it would be dynamic frame. If I use PySpark, then it would be data frame.